I feel like every day that goes by, we hear a crazier and crazier conspiracy theory that I'm like, there's no way that this one could be true. And more often than not, ultimately, there's always some truth to it. What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Smash JT. And Square Enix is apparently trying to stifle anybody talking about this video that came out of Tokyo Game Show. An interview that I covered in a previous video that was extremely eye-opening and ultimately refreshing to hear developers speak freely about why they're making games and the art behind it and the passion that they have and their confusion about all this wokeness going on in the game industry and them having no idea what's even happening. Apparently, there was a bit of backlash with that with Square Enix, and they weren't a big fan of the woke mob coming after them to cancel them. So how does Square Enix fight back against this woke mob and the backlash that they're receiving? Do they stop them in their tracks and say, hey, we are pushing forward with this game because we care about the artistic vision behind the developers here, and they have a passion for this? No, of course not. They fold like a cheap chair and they just throw out to everyone saying, we're sorry, we didn't mean it that way, and in the meantime, we need to get rid of this video evidence. Hit that subscribe, give me a like, and check out SmashJT.com for the full article breaking down how Square Enix is seemingly trying to scrub the video of the Tokyo Game Show interview showing the Dragon Quest III HD 2D Remake developers discuss in detail their confusion about the censorship going into this game and why they don't want it to be there. Dragon Quest creator Yuji Horii and former Weekly Show and Jump editor-in-chief Kazuhiko Torishima made some specific remarks about the game's forced design changes that they didn't necessarily love. The subsequent fallout happening right now seems to suggest that the once giant Japanese company of Square Enix is trying to walk back this interview and pretend it never happened. Now, why would they do that? Obviously, they might not like these developers speaking freely because we can't have developers speaking freely these days because that kind of gets in the way of the message. And if you start getting in the way of the message, then you get canceled. People try to cancel your GoFundMe. They try to get you fired from your jobs. They try to get your wife or your divorce. They try to get everything coming down on you because they got to make sure that if you don't listen to them, then your life is ruined. Well, I guess maybe that's what Square Enix is thinking. Of course, the first thing the hate mob starts to do is jump in with their attacks, aligning Yuji Horii with, obviously, the guy that was in front of that big party of Germany, because hardcore lefty reasoning, of course. Yukio on Twitter said, Yuji Horii going Nazi was not on my bingo sheet. And I'm like, yeah, of course, that's the first logical thing that anyone with a brain would say about someone talking about a video game is jumping straight to Nazi? What is wrong with people? The interview in question that everybody saw circulating on Twitter originated from a post from Valued News on X. It contained some noteworthy comments. Yuji Horii expressed his discontent about having to cover up characters and remove gender options from Dragon Quest III HD 2D Remake to comply with international regulations, particularly from the United States. And again, I talked about this in a previous video that kind of dove into the ESRB and the mafia behind the scenes of how they implement censorship changes to push an agenda. And I would strongly recommend checking that video out if you missed it. I'm not going to dive into it here, but it is sketch as hell. Torishima added to this by making a bold criticism of Western compliance as an evil disguised as good, a force compelling Japanese media to alter their content. The blunt statements had since been misinterpreted and caused waves across social media. So I do find it a bit curious we have a situation here where they're saying, oh, it was mistranslated, so we need to completely remove this video from anyone ever being able to view it in the future, and we need to not discuss what was actually said because we just don't want to talk about it. Whereas we have people like IGN mistranslating Black Myth Wukong and Game Science, and everyone's like, yeah, let's just go along with them because it's IGN. But I digress. Valiant News went back on Twitter and he apologized. Why would you apologize, first of all, for posting a video and translating it to the best of your ability and getting, ready for this, one word wrong? One word in this entire interview, this 3-minute clip that was cut out, one word was apparently mistranslated, and instead of going back and just saying, hey, I mistranslated this one word, this is what it should have said, They deleted the entire video, didn't re-upload a new one, and just tried to say it never happened. This is kind of weird. I would like to sincerely apologize for the incorrect English subtitles created for Mr. Kazuhiko Torishima's statement. In the scene where he mentioned Puritan, it was mistakenly translated as sex education. This error was due to my mishearing. I deeply apologize for any inconvenience caused to all the parties involved. Kind of sounds like a lawyer from Square Enix reached out to him and was like, hey, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, you better put this apology out there or else you're going to be destroyed. Because otherwise, why would you even say it like that? That's very strange to just full on mea culpa, I'm sorry, I made a mistake, and delete anything you said about it for that one little thing? Shortly after this apology, the video was deleted from Valiant News' account, and the original interview, which had been uploaded to YouTube, was made private. It's pretty freaking suspicious, if you ask me. I'm just saying, this is just a little bit too curious with the timing of the apology, the video being deleted, and then the video on YouTube being privated all at the same time. Just kind of weird. It wouldn't be the first time that a major publisher had tried to clean up an inconvenient narrative, but the extent of Square Enix's response in this case has only added to the speculation from many gamers out there. Not only did Valiant News remove the video and issue a subsequent apology, but now other statements are surfacing, seemingly condemning the mistranslations and media coverage. Like, the woman that was interviewing these two people, she was all dressed up and seemed nice and asking these fun questions, apparently now is taking some serious issues with this translation and is now trying to lambast people for sharing it out there. And it just kind of feels like people are in their ears saying, hey, we need to get rid of the evidence of this video out there because it's not good to be showing us in a light of we're anti-woke because the woke people run this industry and we will be completely destroyed if we push this narrative. She said just over 2 minutes of a nearly 90-minute talk from the live broadcast program he appeared on September 28th was maliciously cut out without context by a third party, and English subtitles were added by another third party with an unthinkable mistranslation. On top of that, it was spread by a mysterious overseas news site, and Elon, who follows the site, quoted and reposted it, and it continued to spread in its mistranslated and cut out state. Which I would say, okay, if this is really mistranslated and completely off the mark and misconstruing the overall message, I'd be like, yeah, that's pretty messed up to do something like this. But you watch this clip, and it's them uncut for what feels like about 3 minutes of them chatting about Western censorship and how they have to conform to these weird normalities over here, and it's not really conducive to creating great art. I feel like that's fair. Like, I don't have an issue with that. I don't feel like how that could be taken out of context. Like, what would they say before or after that to make it feel like that wouldn't fit on its own? That's really weird for her to be so upset about this, but she continues. It may be just a great story for media and users who want to gain impressions, but for the performers, it is nothing but unpleasant to have that part cut out. What the hell are you talking about? Like, this is the sensational part of the interview. This is the part that, honestly, people care about. That's why it's getting shared. People don't have 90 minutes to sit around and watch people speak in Japanese that don't understand Japanese and watch it through broken automatic translations trying to figure out what's going on. They would rather just get someone who knows exactly what they were saying and cut out the most important part that is relevant to what they care about and watch that and be like, huh, it's a little bit suspicious that these people are not on board with the insane censorship that seems to be going around the planet Earth right now. And they're trying to speak up about it and being really polite about it, but that's still not acceptable. And now that we're talking about it, you're lambasting us for it. It's just kind of weird. The entire situation highlights a much more concerning trend in the game industry. When creators voice dissenting views or criticism of regulatory standards that don't align with the current accepted social narratives, companies respond by attempting to scrub the record from existence and getting the employees that said the words they did to back up, apologize, and say, you guys got it wrong, instead of being accountable and saying, yeah, we said it, what are you going to do about it? Because they know, especially in the case of this woman interviewer, she's a dime a dozen. She could be replaced easily, and she does not have a guaranteed job with Square Enix, so she's gonna do whatever they tell her to do, and she's gonna say exactly what they tell her to say. What's most troubling is that the original raw content of this interview may never see the light of day again. I've got some clips of it, and I have other people that have shared the entire video with me privately, but as far as having it out there publicly, it's just really curious that Square Enix doesn't want people to see this video. Why is that? You gotta ask when you see what came out of it, and the honesty, the eye-opening, refreshing, oh, there are normal people working at this company that are confused at this woke narrative that the West is shoving on them. Why is that a problem? Ultimately, this incident raises huge questions about the transparency in the gaming industry and the rights of creators to express themselves freely, even when their opinions might not align perfectly with the agendas of global corporations or specific activist groups. For now, it seems like Square Enix would rather censor and scrub evidence than allow creators like Yuji to speak honestly about the challenges facing their beloved series. And unfortunately, unless the interview somehow resurfaces, we may never know the full story behind the situation. But the way things have been going, your guess is probably on point and accurate, because it always seems to be what you suspect always ends up being the reality. I just found this situation beyond fascinating, because for once we got an unfiltered, real perspective from developers that are legendary at Square Enix, just speaking their mind and saying it's kind of weird that we can't do these things that have always traditionally been fine, but all of a sudden now it's not, and we don't understand why that is. And they're now being censored because they dared speak out and get out of line with the agenda of the wokeness. And it's just mind-blowing to me. Anyways, I'm going to leave it there. If you guys want more information, check out smashjt.com for the full article. Goes into even more details than I talk about here. If you appreciate what I'm doing, hit that join button. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, you stay smashing. Just when you thought you've heard the craziest conspiracy theories of all time, Square Enix comes in and says, "Hold my slime." Ah, that's kind of dumb. It's like a dad joke.